Hi guys, what's going on, and welcome back to another video on Conqueror's Blade. And today I want to be talking about Paladins. Obviously one of my all-time favourite units in the game. Used to really love them when they came out back in Season 5, and we've had loads of videos sort of on the ups and downs of Paladins over the years. But recently they've been struggling quite a lot. Up until probably 3 or 4 weeks ago, I want to say, when they got a buff. Basically increase the hit points, slight increase to the effectiveness of their healing, reduce the weak spot on their back so they don't take so much damage when they get hit from behind, and almost like a sort of mini riposte ability when they've got their active block on, which means they sort of take less damage. So all of that should make them a lot more competitive, and yet for some reason it just hasn't. They are maybe slightly more viable than they once used to be, but when you compare them to like the Stalwarts that also got a buff in the same patch, they just don't really stack up all that well. So anyway, I thought we'd dive into a few battles with them, see how we've been getting on. Managed to grab ourselves a cheeky little hero kill, and since we're now going into the block against this lot, charging into the fight against those poor little Imperial Pike Guards who got absolutely slaughtered. So the unit does still have an active block. So that's kind of nice. It means once they get set up in combat, they can still do quite a chunk of damage. And I think part of the problem is not so much that, oh, how dare he shoot my horse and stop me trying to chase down those archers. It's not so much that the unit has got worse, that everything else has got better, and Paladins haven't kept up. Quite a few people down there. Let's just get out of this situation quickly. No, I do not wish to deploy a trebuchet. Can these berserkers get off me? Let me try and charge into them there, see if we can save the unit. There we go, nice. Oh, charged a little bit too far. Can we catch that short sword? No. Okay, let's pull back round. We can help with this poleaxe though if we can catch him. Get off my poor Paladins. There we go, there he goes. Another hero kill. So everything else does a lot more damage, and there tends to be a lot more units that can sort of insta-wipe the Paladins now. And I think then when you compare them to things like we have like Shield Maidens now, the damage just isn't there and the potential just isn't there, and particularly compared to other tier 4 purple era units as well. But I have still having quite a lot of fun playing them. In this fight here you can see I've sort of got the unit a bit more healed up, and the battle prayer is improved. I perhaps should have waited for a little bit more support from behind, because we could have done a bit more damage there. Charging against front of Stalwarts used to be sort of quite a lot more effective, but Stalwarts obviously recently had a buff as well, and that's made them really kind of quite tanky. Up to about 30 kills now anyway, but a pretty tough fight here, and we are starting to take losses. Second charge down by the second unit of Paladins coming from behind, a little bit more effective, and we're able to pin down and finally sort of push through that clump. And I just about get away with my life. Just. Very much so just. Just thinking about what I was going to do with this poleaxe, if he was going to come and try and either just jump around or come and play. But he's obviously just wanted to get out of the fight. So yeah, so I feel like Paladins could almost do with a little bit more of a buff again. They're certainly still struggling a little bit in my opinion, anyway. So anyway, we go on to push to make a little bit of a push on this supply point. Come over, we've got friendly Stalwarts here, kind of acting as a shield wall. Let's bring the unit up, trying to decide if the team's going to make a bit of a push from this direction. But we don't really get very many of the team coming this way. And there's certainly too much there for me to realistically push around the corner with a third of a unit of Paladins. I mean, I'll be dead extremely quickly. On the other side of the map, it does look like the team is pushing at least a little bit more. And you can see we've obviously been having a little bit of a play around on that supply point at some point, because the enemy's only just gone and captured it back. So I come around thinking about, oh well, maybe we'll make a bit of a push to the supply point from this side. Set the unit up, but see this hero come around the back. Hit him with my pushback, should have tried to lock him because I'd have unhorsed him. And we come up sort of against some village watchmen or some equivalent low tier unit like that. Push through them without really too much of a problem. And it seems we're getting a bit of a momentum push towards the supply point. So I'm happy to kind of take that game, kind of push through. Got the rest of the team coming, and we can basically just push around this corner and actually directly push the supply point. Cheeky little poleaxe, push him out the way. Ideally pin him down, which we do, even if we get our camera stuck in a building. I swing aimlessly and manage to not land a single one of the hits. But we do manage to get on and get the supply point captured. We pull the unit in, and we do have that unit of Azaps kicking around behind. Perhaps the one of the few tier 4 units at the moment that is distinctly worse than Paladins. Poor Azaps are desperate for a buff. I know someone who's desperate for me to do a video on Azaps. I just can't quite seem to bring the energy to actually go through the horror of having to play them. Anyway, I was kind of thinking about, well, they're bad, but I have only got a third of a unit. Can we realistically take them? But anyway, we end up catching the hero on the corner, and that works out fine. I just deployed the unit into loose formation while we deal with the hero. The Azaps charge in, but they're really not much of a problem for the Paladins. They block, obviously, some of my damage a little bit, but they push through, and then they break and go into retreat, and then we can really get in and get stuck in with a chunk of damage, and we can push through them without too much of a problem. These Paladins do still do quite a chunk of damage against enemy heroes when they get up close. You can't quite sort of XV the same amount of damage that you used to be able to with them back kind of in, Season 5 and 6, but it is still quite effective. Anyway, getting into the next stage, charging straight into some Iron Reapers, assisting with the Madao, we can kind of help push through, get stuck into a bit of a poleaxe as well, and manage to get a little bit behind some of these stalwarts. Well, getting behind is a little bit more effective, and we are able to get quite a chunk of damage in. The units fighting on them, in these kind of fairly small skirmishes, they still do pretty well. They do, of course, actually have an active block, so it does mean they can do quite a lot of damage. You can see them fighting on relatively well, and they do hold up reasonably well without dying. I'm trying to get myself out of the fight now, and there we go. The poor unit is pretty much finished up, but it grabbed us a couple of hero kills and sort of 60-65 unit kills, so they can still be okay, but I do feel they've kind of got a little bit of a way to go to anything near what they used to be back a few seasons ago. But anyway, we might as well go through the rest of this battle now since we've come this far. Can we carry it to the end? I've got the Houndsmen still with me, so I'm thinking about pulling them out probably next. And we can see if we could then use that just to pressure the final point. We've got basically 2/3 or 3/4 of it captured already, so we just need one really good push then to be able to really carry this through to the end. We go spawn with them back into our gateway. I do enjoy these Houndsmen. Just a really nice little ranged unit. The only real ranged unit I think I enjoy, to be honest. Certainly the only archer unit I enjoy. I don't really enjoy any of the other ones. So anyway, pull them through. Obviously it's a bit of a trek to get back up to be able to start pushing the point again. Start to swing around. Most of the team obviously got wiped at the same point in the last push, so we can kind of all push together. We've got a bit of a blob moving up, which is normally pretty good in these sort of events. You want to be moving a sort of one team, one blob. It makes it a lot more effective, particularly if the enemy end up sort of splitting up a bit and some are at the supply point, some are defending other ways, etc, etc. Anyway, we get back up to the usual sort of staging area. We do have flames, and that's a really important point here. A little bit of lag. So we get set up on the corner, and initially we're just going to pop away a little bit at this longsword. Trying to decide, well, really trying to wait for someone to commit to go to the corner. Not being very much of a team player here, bringing range and not being particularly helpful, because ultimately, in a situation like this, I'm entirely reliant on someone in the team bringing shields or bringing a melee unit that they're going to make a push with. The guy with the flames manages to sort of rally that together a little bit though, and kind of points out that he has the flames and that if we can get pushed around the corner, he's happy to push up. So people start to get a bit closer, get a couple of shield units pushing up. Everyone's sort of nudging around and getting into position, and then we make the move. And everyone goes together really nicely, and that enables us to push around the corner, and we can get stuck in. I send the dogs charging off in, and the unit goes up into firing. Annoyingly, when you use the dogs, they sometimes get into this sort of really high firing arc mode, where it's really I want them to be firing more directly. Do manage to grab ourselves a little bit of a hero kill, and you can see look all the bleed damage we get going into the fight. As the team starts to push forwards, I say I like to play these guys a lot like a musket unit, so I tend to play them pretty aggressively. You want to stick them quite close on the front line, and you can see the amount of hits they get. They fire just so insanely quickly. They just pick up damage just super fast. They are kind of absolutely ridiculous. And as the team keeps pushing up, just pushing the archers closer and closer, the dogs are pretty much all dead by this point, and we are going to receive some sort of fire from enemy artillery. You can see our team's flamethrowers doing the job, and we are starting to drive the enemy off the point. And I kind of just go into slight hero hunting mode, trying to keep the enemy heroes down and put on the floor so we can clear the point and we can actually start to get the cap on. Mortar gets a bit of a cheeky shot on some of my poor blood hunters, but not enough to really kill them all, and we keep getting damage in as they're fighting along anyway. Decide to try and have a bit of a pop at some of the artillery. We do manage to get the ballista down, but unfortunately it's just too much. I really thought I was going to get that poleaxe player. He must have had about 1 remaining hit point. I don't know how he managed to survive that final bit of Lochaber. Damn him. But he did. A unit fights on for a while, but they're basically out of ammo anyway. They've taken a couple of losses, so I just set them off on retreat as we kind of push on towards the end. Unfortunately, don't manage to actually get to respawn in time, but we do manage to secure the victory and capture the final enemy base point. Anyway, made for a fun little battle. I do still enjoy the Paladins. I just think they, even with the buffs, they kind of are a shadow of their former selves, and they're still probably going to go down as one of my all-time favourite units. I just kind of miss slightly the old Paladins. But I suppose it is at least nice to see stalwarts kind of back up their fighting as a more of a top tier tier 4 unit. Anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And of course, subscribe to the channel for lots more Conqueror's Blade content. Thanks for watching, guys, and see you all on the next one.